Guys, it's Stephen here. Welcome back to another video the day after City's 4-0 loss at Spurs at home. True story, I've just been out to the local garden centre with my son Nicola, and we got home, we had a really nice little time actually, sort of nearly forgot about yesterday, and parked up and I was like, what's that noise? Looked down and our tyre's deflating, yeah. How upset, I saw someone in the chat, and Nate said, my car tyres popped this morning. Yes, same mate, literally 20 minutes ago I realised the tyre was deflating in our car. So it's that kind of weekend basically. Everything is deflating, everything is flat, everything feels really negative. This video isn't really going to cheer you up too much, but it is going to be my usual attempt at sort of breaking down Manchester City in the world of it, coming at me with my sort of rational head, and yeah, there's a lot to talk about. In this video, I didn't really see the point in pulling out any individuals because I don't think anyone's really, other than one positive for an individual, I didn't really see the point in pulling out any negatives about certain players because I could sit here and tell you loads. I could sit here and tell you everyone's out of form. I could tell you Haaland's not doing well, Foden's playing badly, Vardyal's even making mistakes right now and he's one of our best players. I could tell you Bernardo looks out of form, Gundogan looks old, Walker looks old. I could tell you that Rico Lewis needs a spell on the bench as well. I could tell you a million things, but that doesn't really teach you anything. We all know that pretty much everyone right now is out of form, but I want to get to the reasons why, if that's the case. You know, I want to look deeper than that. So I'm not really talking about the individuals because I don't think there's much to talk about there. I think it's a collective mess, you know. But I do touch on some of these players, of course, when I look at the broader issues of the team. So I will go through, you know, the things behind it that I think are sort of notable for where City are right now. Please give the video a like anyway. I know it's not the most positive of topics, but if you can help support the channel, it'd be massively appreciated. 60 people watching currently. If we can get up to 50 likes, that'd be great. Give the video a like and subscribe if you're new to this channel. So if you feel like you know, things are currently, the world is caving in around Manchester City and you want a sort of rational voice to sort of calm the nerves a little bit or maybe see a different perspective, hopefully this can be the channel for you. And I'm sure people in the chat who know me will attest to a decent level of sanity over here on Esteemed Kompany. Fingers crossed you do anyway, you agree. So the first thing I want to talk about anyway is this, that right now, City aren't just getting beat by other sides, they're sort of beating themselves. And what I mean by that is I think City are sort of the masters of their own downfall to a certain degree for many reasons. I feel yesterday City probably should have won that game comfortably, and what I'll do is I'll show you what I'm referring to yesterday. I mean, look at these stats here, and I'm not saying City were brilliant, but how do City, when you look at those stats, lose 4-0? Look, Spurs had more big chances, of course, and they had, but look at the possession, all that kind of stuff. But look at City shots, 23 shots to their 9. They did have 6 big chances to our 4. But look at the XG as well. Look, we could have lost that game based off the XG as well, but there's no way that should be a 4-0 loss. There isn't. There's a 4-0 loss because of a failing at both ends of the pitch. It's a 4-0 loss because we're not putting the ball in the back of the net and we're defending poorly. And when we don't can score a goal or we can see the soft goal, our heads drop and we sort of beat ourselves. City right now, they're absolutely spiralling. And we're seeing this pattern in many, many games where, like right now, it feels like City are just so low in confidence that every time something bad happens against us, teams run at us and we have no solution, no answer to the problems. We are spiraling mentally. And look, I don't know if you watched the documentary, the 4 in a row documentary at the film, and there was a lot of, Guardiola talked a lot about the psychology, and look, I'm never going to be the greatest tactician. You can't come to this channel and get incredible tactical analysis. I won't tell you that, but I do think I'm pretty good at the psychological aspects of life and human beings in general. It's something I'm genuinely fascinated in, and I think the psychological aspect in football is the most important one. Like, if all these players are happy, and we've won 4 games in a row, that probably finishes 4-0 yesterday, even with this fitness levels exactly the same, because confidence is everything in football. City right now are at rock bottom mentality-wise, and it doesn't look good, you know. Like I think that, look, there'll be elements of where City sort of solve some of these issues, but we are beating ourselves to an extent, and it isn't good. It isn't good. Emotionally, this team is very, very flat right now, and I don't really know if they know how to get themselves out of it. So basically, yeah, there are issues, of course. There are issues, of course, in terms of, you know, fitness and personnel. I'm not going to pretend they aren't there, but I do think a lot of the problems are that we're just switching off and we're losing confidence and we're fragile. We are fragile and we're making mistakes, and like, I love you, Oscar Vardiel, but I think Vardiel, I didn't pile in on him online because I didn't see the point because people would get defensive because Vardiel's been so great, and he has. But I thought Vardiel was pathetic for the first 2 goals. I thought his defending was really weak, and then the pass was so sloppy. And there was other mistakes around that, with poor possession lost, and Walker not picking up his man at one point, and Gundogan not tracking back, and Foden being sloppy on the ball. But look, everyone is making mistakes, be it, if it's not Guardiola, it's Gundogan. If it's not him, it's Haaland missing chances. If it's not him, it's Walker thinking he can give 5-yard head start to Werner and catch him up, then misjudging his pace these days. They're all doing it. It's errors. It's genuinely errors. Constant errors. And as much as we talk about, ability, I don't think this is the high level of these players' abilities. They're all much better than this. I still think we need to go on to get better players, but all these players are well better than this. They're playing shit, a lot of them, and that to me is the issue right now, is that we are better than this. Everyone's confidence is in the mud, and we need to find a way to get around it. And so until that happens, we're going to keep playing ourselves. Second thing I want to talk about is this handsome man here, Hugo Viana. Hugo Viana, of course, will come in soon, and I think the more we look at the performances, and even though it just sort of contradicts what I've just said about, I don't think all the players are as bad, I still feel the rebuild is inevitable, and it's going to happen. I think it should start sooner than maybe planned, and even if Hugo Viana isn't here until June or February or whatever, I do feel we have to crack on and start looking at it aggressively. And the small part of me wonders this, and I thought about tweeting this today, but I couldn't be asked. People are arguing because people are so tetchy right now. But I'd be very curious to see what you guys in the chat think. I've got a theory that Guardiola actually knows the rebuild's inevitable. And he might not have felt that a few months ago, but I do feel with a little bit of time and hindsight, I honestly reckon Guardiola knows the squad is in a worse state than he lets on. What do you guys think? My reason behind that is because, look, essentially, he signed a new contract, and he more or less, and I'm paraphrasing here, came out and said that, he can't leave now when things are in a bad way. And I don't think he was just because we lost 4 games in a row. I don't think he was saying that because I don't think he feels that's going to carry on for the rest of. I don't think he only signed a contract because we lost 4 games in a row. Pep would presume the results would have got better. I think Pep signed a contract for 2 years because he wants to oversee a refresh. I don't think he wants to walk out when City are in a low place. I don't think he does. So I honestly feel Guardiola knows a rebuild is inevitable. Guardiola would never come out and go, player X, Y, and Z are shit and they can't do it anymore. He's not stupid. But I guarantee he's looking at 1 or 2 of those players and thinking they're not up to scratch. He'd never say publicly, and he's probably right to that. I'm not sure what it accomplishes turning around and going, Kyle Walker's washed. And what's he got to gain from that? It'd be divisive, it'd be stupid, and you don't gain anything. You just incite bad blood. So I think he's smart enough to understand that you can't say that publicly, but I think deep down he might be much more tuned in to than we realise, So I think the rebuild is inevitable. For me, I would want it to start, I'd want it to start in January. I do think a couple of signings could be great, potentially. If we could, even if just one, Zubimendi type. I keep saying him, but I think he's the obvious one, Yeah, and I think it's possible, by the way, as Tadu said, by the way, that Guardiola did think the squad was going to place, but maybe he's realised it wasn't quite as strong. Guardiola is also the first to admit always, that he can learn and get things wrong. And I think Guardiola might have thought it was a bit stronger than it is. I don't think for 1 second the plan was to play Gundogan 60 games a season. I think he was meant to play 20 to 30 games alongside alongside Rodri. And occasionally rest for Rodri alongside a fit De Bruyne and Kovacic. But I don't think he was meant to play every single game. He can't. Gundogan can't do that. I think he was a last-minute option, and I thought he could have been a smart signing for a bit of experience, but it turned out he was the Rodri replacement, and he's just not ready for that anymore. When I look at the team yesterday, look, I'd be amazed if one of Stones or Ake survives the summer, because those are both 30 plus and injury prone. Kyle Walker, I'd be amazed if he survives the summer. Gundogan, will he survive the summer at 34 years old? I think Bernardo will. I think Bernardo is much better than he's currently shown. Bernardo is just playing too much, and Bernardo needs a little bit of a rest, and he needs to be able to sit on the bench every now and then, but he's not. Phil Savino, of course, would be here, but looking through the squad, will Jack Grealish survive the summer? Don't know, man. Then I go through Núñez. Will he survive the summer? I don't know. De Bruyne, will he be here? I don't know. But then I go through the rest of them. Oscar Bob, he'll be there fine. Rodri, Diaz, Doku will probably be here. Kovacic. Look, there's a few people that potentially could leave. So I think the rebuild is inevitable. We can't really ignore it, So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think we probably should accelerate and start now, in my personal opinion. let's do one positive at very least. It's sort of positive that's also double-edged, because I understand that the fact that this implies that we have to lean on Kevin De Bruyne, who's 33 years old. Is he 34? I don't know. A very old Kevin De Bruyne. But I do think that cameo yesterday showed that Kevin De Bruyne is still way better than the rest, unfortunately, creatively. Creatively, at very least. Kevin De Bruyne had a level of quality yesterday in that 16-minute cameo that was just... It was actually quite humbling. Like, he did more creatively, more intelligence in 16 minutes than the whole team managed to do in the 74 prior to that. So it's one of those things where, like, it's sort of humbling, but it also shows the quality that I think City were hoping to lean on this year. Someone compared, and I only sort of briefly touch on this point, but someone replied to my tweet about Stones being injured, saying, yeah, well, Liverpool have got Trent, Alisson, Elliott, and who else was it out? One more player. I can't remember who it was, but it was obviously Trent, Alisson. Either way, the main four players. And I was like, you can't really compare that to City. Like, the equivalent would be if Rodri would be the level of Van Dijk out all season, and then Jota, that was it, Jota, yeah. And then... excuse me, just choked on a bit of apple. And then it'd be like Salah being barely fit for KDB. And then they talked about, Jota. Well, that for us would be the equivalent of Phil Foden, currently injured. And then you talk about what Trent, well, Kyle Walker's barely ever played, so there you go, fitness. And then, of course, add on top of that, if they had Diaz, Akanji and Stones, which would be for them Gomez, Kanate, and the rest of them. Look, there's so many players out right now, it's ridiculous. But anyway, KDB still is clearly better than the rest. If we can find a way to keep KDB fit and he can get minimum 45 minutes, we might find a little bit of joy over the next few games. But KDB, unfortunately, I don't think we can lean on him anymore in terms of fitness, but I hope we can do. But I do feel like if we can get him on the pitch, he still has that inherent quality. And it felt sort of sobering seeing the levels that he brought compared to what everyone else was producing on the pitch. We've got quality there, but they were nowhere near what KDB did. So yeah, the quality is still there. This sort of touches on the first point, which was City beating themselves, but it also touches into a leadership thing where too many heads are dropping around the team. And I look around and I don't see anyone who's particularly good, and it's sort of a leadership point, this, at getting them up. Like, the players right now are so confident, and I'm seeing a lot of people walking about with their heads down, and I put Haaland there just because it's a picture I saw when I was scrolling Twitter, but it is a Haaland, Haaland right now isn't at his most confident. Phil Foden isn't at his most confident. Bernardo Silva's not at the most confident. Vardyell's making mistakes. Gundogan looks like he's running in treacle. Rico Lewis's form has dropped. There's so many players right now, and I'm looking around, sadly, I'm not seeing any leaders. I know Kyle Walker's the captain, but I don't think Kyle Walker is a leader in the way that Rodri is, or De Bruyne, or Diaz is. And I think we're suffering from the kind of players that are out, not necessarily the players. It's also the kind of players because they're our best players. But I tell you what, like, we really could do with Diaz on the pitch right now. Someone to turn around and be like, come on, and like get behind him and get him going. Because KDB is a leader in a different way. KDB is not like Diaz in terms of chest beating, but KDB just leads you by brilliance. Like, he's got such an aura on the pitch that he's special. But Rodri is more like Diaz, where he leads by example and power and leadership and physicality, and he's loud and all that kind of stuff. Basically, there's too many heads dropping and not enough people around who are pure bastard winners who want it. They really want it, and they're looking around and they're all sort of like, what is like what's the structure? Army leadership rankings. What is it? Army ranks UK. Who's at the very top? Like, basically, you sort of got like, you've got like a lot of like, I don't know what the rankings are, but I was just kind of trying to make a real. You've got a sort of lot of colonels, like top colonels or whatever, and then you've got generals, but then you've got a lot of like. What's the highest one? Commanders. Like your Rodris and your De Bruynes. But you've got a lot of like proper good sergeants, but they're not still your commanders, are they? We've got sergeants in the likes of Bernardo or whatever. That's the point I'm making. We've got people that would be like the secondary ones. but they're still not a Rodri or De Bruyne or a Diaz. They're not the ones you look up to and go, these guys are fucking geniuses that get us going. So this is the thing, like, we've got a lot of lot of sergeants or a lot of people that you think, oh, I like these guys or whatever, trust them. But that's what I would call Walker or a Bernardo or maybe a Stones. But I wouldn't call them the captains, the proper captains like a Rodri. And I think we are drowning, as Devious Ducky said in the chat, I think we're drowning without Rodri and KDB. And when you add to that the absence of Diaz as well, it's just everywhere through that team, through that spine, we've just got the players who can't, as Josh said, grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And it's just concerning to watch because it goes back to the first point I made about we're beating ourselves right now. City is spiralling every single time we see the goal, the heads are dropping. And look, we need to find a way for the players to stop going. As Guardiola, once again, Docker's like, yeah, come on. They're like, in your head, just get it sorted. Finally, like, how do we fix this? Oh, look, Diaz is there. And I think the only way, in my opinion, we're getting out of this is either a bit of luck, maybe a bit of luck, and time. And time for me is a healer always, because eventually, the longer the game goes on, you get the victory. And time could also be that players come back from injury. And look, I feel pretty confident to say that, look, as much as things are shit right now, I'd be amazed if we lose 10 games in a row. I don't think that's possible. Like, we might do, and this could be stupid, but like, I don't see, look, if you City could put a team like Edison, maybe a Kanji at right back, Stones and Diaz and Josko Vardiol, and then maybe we can get Kovacic back with Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, and then maybe Phil, Haaland and Savinho, something like that, or maybe Grealish back in the team. I'd be amazed if we don't win a game there. Like, it's a totally different level quality of team if you have that experience in there, So basically, I feel like we do need a bit of time. Or the luck aspect is you have someone, we're drawing 1-1, we're not playing particularly well, but then someone like Vardiol or Foden or Haaland or De Bruyne scores a last-minute winner, and all of a sudden the mood shifts and swings. See Newcastle last year, because football is, it's the beauty of football. Is like one day you can be top of the world, next time you can be down in the ditch, and then 10 minutes later you can be top of the world again. So I look, the fixtures aren't looking good, Ipchus. I agree, mate. It's one of the things where I said that's why we need a little bit of luck and time. I tweeted after the Fulham game, and look, a lot of people sort of thought I was overreacting a little bit, but I tweeted after the Fulham game on October the 6th, get to January. And that we just won that game, and then we won the Wolves game afterwards. But I could tell after the Fulham game that we needed to get to January. And even though we did win Fulham, we did win the Wolves game, we won Sparta Prague, and then we beat Southampton, I knew it was going to be tough. And I felt since Fulham that we needed to get to January and survive it. And this is what I mean about time. Like, I don't think it's going to get back get any better anytime soon. We're just going to have to get a bit of luck or a bit of time. So this is where we're at right now, unfortunately. It's not going to be fixable overnight unless a little bit of luck and some players come back from injuries. I could see it. Like, I do feel like, if everyone's available, if you got a couple of bits of luck, and I'll sort of build a team here, a little bit of luck, and some players come back, and all of a sudden you've got a team like this, Vardiol, and then Diaz, Stones. I'm putting a Kanji here because I want someone who can actually run again, And then maybe Grealish comes back in for a bit of composure. Kovacic, Silva, KDB, Savinho, Haaland. All of a sudden, if you've got a team sort of like this, I know Foden's not on there, but maybe Foden could do with a bit of rest right now. You got a team like this all of a sudden. I fancy your chances to win a game or two. It feels massively different because you've got a couple of leaders back there. You've got Diaz you can lean on. You've got KDB. Hopefully, Kovacic and Silva will be a slightly better bet. Gundogan could be out. Foden can get a bit of a rest. Grealish can bring a bit of control back to the team potentially. Like, I don't know if that'll happen. But you can see how things can feel very different very quickly there, So time is needed. So that's what I took from it anyway. I don't think Vardiol will be a good DM, Devious Duck. I think he's going to need a bit of time. I think Vardiol, actually, here's a controversial take for you. Vardiol is not a great defender. He's a good defender. Maybe a very good defender. But I don't think he's a brilliant warrior of a defender. Does anyone else feel like I'm wrong there or right? Like, and what I mean is... I feel a warrior of a defender is like a Ruben Diaz, or like if it came to backs against the wall defending, I would want Stones, Akanji, Ake, and Diaz all ahead of RDL. I think he's a really smart footballer. He's a world-class player, but I don't think he's a world-class backs to the wall defender. Like, I think Ake, Diaz, Stones, Akanji are all better natural defenders than him. But that's not to say he's not great. I just think, I don't think he has the aggression to be a DM. Technically, he does. But I think he would get ran past still. I think he would. And I love him, by the way. I'm not criticising him. And I think, by the way, like, I felt the same about Rodri for the first 2 years of his Man City career. So there's nothing to say that one day Guardiola won't get that aggression or that physicality, to his game too. It takes a little bit of time. And I'm not criticising Guardiola, but I don't think he'd be a DM anytime soon. That's all I feel, basically. But anyway, they're the 5 things I took from the game. We're beating ourselves right now, which is incredibly frustrating. We're missing chances. We're switching off when we concede a goal, and it's really frustrating. The rebuild is inevitable. We can't deny that fact. It's going to happen. KDB is still way better than the rest. We need him on the pitch if we're going to have a chance anytime soon. Too many heads are dropping because of lack of leadership on the pitch. Lot of soldiers, but not a lot of sergeants right now. And City do need a little bit of luck and time. Guys, let me know your 5 things that we learned in the chat. I enjoyed chatting to you guys in the chat. It was good. Thank you to all those involved. I enjoyed it. Didn't enjoy the topic, but enjoyed chatting to you guys. It won't last forever. Could be a little bit longer, though. In a bit, bye-bye. Up the Blues.